Good morning, Metaverse. I'm Thor with the Red Hand, and in response to some requests that I got, I'm going to be doing a video on how to get ready for Sage Labs. It's going to be in a day or so, the 21st. I can't even remember what day it is right now, but it's all blur. But for the people that haven't been engaged in Star Atlas for a long time, or getting into it for the first time, how to really catch you up quickly. There's no easy way to distill all the information into like a 5-minute video, but what I can do, and what I'll do on this episode, is go through the different resources that I've used to put together my game plan to go into Sage Labs with a plan and hopefully a lot of success. So I'll go through those different things. I'll put a bunch of links in the description below. I don't have time to do a bunch of the thumb tabs right now, but I'll get to that as time goes on to hopefully help this be a good starter tutorial for getting into Sage Labs. So let's dive into this. Okay, so the first thing I recommend you do is get in touch with a guild and or a group within the same faction that you're going to choose. There's Oni, Ooster, and Mud. And so I'm part of the Ooster faction, and we've put together the Nexus. That was my previous video. Go take a look at that if you're curious. It's a bunch of Ooster guilds that have come together for both a social gathering place as well as a strategic gathering place to figure out how to work best within our faction's region. There's also, for Oni, a guild that I'm personally fond of is Rome. They've done a phenomenal job, and they would be a great source of information for you to go to. And then Bulk for Mud is a group I've worked with from the very beginning, and they also have a really good information page on their Discord. So going to their Discords, as well as the Star Atlas main Discord, but to disseminate a lot of this information, those different groups have put together a real good section. So in the Nexus, for Oosters, we have Sage Labs tab to go through Sage Mining, Sage SDU, and Sage Crafting. And there's quite a few different documents and visuals to take a look at. So the first thing I'm going to cover is the mining. And so when you into the Galley universe, you first launch into the game. I'm going to assume that you have a wallet set up. There's plenty of tutorials to learn how to set up wallets and get started from that perspective. But assuming that you have a wallet, you're going to log in to the Sage Labs, and then you're going to go out and look for resources. There might be copper. There's actually a good graphic on the crafting tree, biomass, copper ore, faction crystals, hydrogen, luminite, carbon, iron ore. Okay, these are all the different raw resources that you can get, and you're going to send your ships out. You want to make sure that you have enough fuel, because if you run out of fuel in the time frame of mining and coming back, if you don't have enough fuel to get back, you run out of fuel, you'll have to destroy your ship. It'll respawn, but you will lose all the cargo on board. So all that time mining is going to be wasted. So very important to have enough fuel, especially for the first several times that you do it. I would overload on fuel just to be sure and to test it out. That's what I'm going to be doing to practice safety. Safety third. It's still very important though, and so then you're going to go out and mine those resources, and the mining is going to cost food and ammo. Okay, so fuel, food, and ammo are the three resources you're going to need in the game. You're not going to need toolkits right now because there's no combat in this version of Sage Labs. That will come in later. So the three resources you need: fuel, food, and ammo. Now, because I was thinking about this, there is one ship one type of ship that doesn't require ammo in order to mine. And let me pull this up. It's actually the Armstrong Tip, Tap, and Imp ships. I actually a tip. I traded in some medtechs and a core episode. Was it 3 which was selling for 59 bucks. Nice. So I traded some of those in to be able to get an Armstrong tip. The reason I think that's very important to know is it doesn't require ammunition to mine. And so if I'm going out there and I have a minimal fleet, or even if I have a very large fleet with a large amount of cargo, can go on the and even if I run out of ammo with my other ships, my tip would still be able to mine because it doesn't require ammo in order to mine, and be able to fill up that cargo capacity. So until we start getting good at the calculations of how much resources you're going to need to fully load up your cargo, that is going to be a great resource. So I decided to throw that into my fleet. Now, how did I decide to do that and offload some medtechs? Well, I used another resource, and this one is specifically above the documents you can read through, Nancy. And so Nancy is a resource through Afia Industries, and I'll leave a link in the description below for getting to that. You set it up on your desktop, and so Ken did a phenomenal job of putting together all these ships and to all the stats on those ships. I'm going to have a really fun time going through and using Nancy to review these ships and analyze them in depth. But you have any ship in your fleet that you can go through and take a look at the information, all the data that we have on these ships, their cargo capacities, fuel capacities, mining rates, the warp distance. All of these are going to be very important to know and understand. I have built my own spreadsheet for the spreadsheet wars. I've been building my spreadsheet and really leaning hard on this resource for pulling that data and figuring out how to put together my fleet, which is one of the features that you have here. You can actually build a fleet and be able to create that fleet and see what that looks like. And theorize, all right, what if I put this group of fleet together for going out and mining? What's my mining rate? What's my max warp distance? What's it going to cost fuel wise, ammo wise, etc. And so great resource and something that you definitely. So that's the tool that I use to decide what ships to put together in my fleets. And I'll do another video later on about how the loadout of my fleets and why I put different ones together. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the crafting and the planning that you're going to have to do. I'm going to have this image as a printout and blow it up on my wall, and be able to plan. All right, what resources am I going to go to and collect so that I can then combine it to do something else on the layer 2 and layer 3 of this crafting tree, and as we craft the different items, these are the things that we're going to put together to be able to craft full ships, to be able to sell these items on the marketplace to other people looking to gather and create more complex components, as well as needing each and every one of these in order to put together and create a golden ticket for the raffle portion of the game. And so you're going to want to be able to plan that out. And another thing with min-maxing and try to be most efficient, where are the resources going to be? And the team actually released. And with some of the comments from the community, people were concerned that the people that had been selected for the testing phase of Sage Labs were going to get a head start on knowing where things are, where the resources are. And so they actually released a list of all the different regions, sector, the mud sector, and the Ooster sector. And these different regions, I think this is a great resource, and you definitely want to plan this out. And it shows MRZ 28, and then you go to MRZ 28, and that has hydrogen and carbon. and that's a richness of 1.5. It's a little further away from this central space station, which would have a richness of 1, um, but not as far away as, say, MRZ21 hydrogen with a richness of 2. And so if I'm coming out here and thinking, all right, I have to get hydrogen, and I'm just going to focus on hydrogen, I need to get that a lot of that first. Then I'm going to probably go to MRZ21. It has a richness of 2, and I can plan out my trip on the map that they provided. So I think that's actually great that they did that. I love to have a little bit of mystery in the games that I play, but I also don't like those games where you get into it and you're like, I don't know where do I go? There's no visual cues. I don't even know what visual cues to look for to travel. And so giving a little bit of insight on at least the direction. And so it's really small. You may not be able to see it, but inside of those dark and light squares, there's a bunch of really tiny squares. It's about 10 by 10 square inside of each of those dark and light ones. And each one of those squares is an atlas unit or a distance. So that's the AUs is the distance used. And so when you're looking on Nancy, and you're taking a look at the max distance, let me pull up Nancy again. So if you're going down to your ships. We've got, okay, so down here, max warp distance, it says 1.75 for the air bike. That means 1.75 AUs, and that's in warp distance in AUs, so 1.75 of those little blocks per warp, okay? And so you can then anticipate how long that's going to take and to get to the place that you are looking for. Okay, and count those squares off or approximate it. Once you get those distance, write it down, and then you have your travel times for those locations. And you can pick your locations and then already have a plan of what you're going to craft as you go through this and try to build up this tree. So those are a couple good tools to use in tandem to plan out your strategy as you go. And I'm going to my mind's going to probably start oozing blood here in a second. Got to tape up with duct tape, but that's what I'm going to be doing and using to get started in. The last thing I wanted to go over is the SDUs. What the heck is the SDU? It's a survey data unit. And this, along with the crafting resources that you mine, you will also need SDUs to be able to combine them into the crafting elements to get to the next level. So to take a look at the SDUs, they're going to be each one of those little squares that I talked about. You're going to be able to scan for these SDUs. And each square has roughly a 25% chance of being able to find an SDU. And the amount of SDUs that you can find in that square is based off of how many ships you have in your fleet. And there is another rating which we'll go over to show how to maximize your fleet for finding SDUs. But you have a 25% chance unless someone has scanned that square in the last 2 minutes. So if it hasn't been scanned, you have a 25% chance, 1 in 4. If it has been scanned, then it won't get an SDU for another 2 minutes at minimum. And so you are going to be looking for places that other people aren't going, that aren't as populated, in order to search for those SDUs, which are just as necessary as your mined resources. Okay, it's also going to have a cap so that there's no more than 1,500 SDUs found every minute. Okay, so even if it is as you have a really concentrated amount of people using the game at the same time, there is that cap. In a minute, no more than 1,500 can be mined or scanned for, I should say. So think about the time frames that you're going to be playing the game. If you're playing during really high activity times, finding SDUs is probably going to be a lot harder because you might be hitting the cap. We'll see. The community goes at really gung ho when it comes down to the searching based off of the escape velocity test. There was definitely times during the day that had higher volumes and might actually hit that threshold. So I know if I'm going to be doing SDU work, then I'm going to be going in sort of the off hours, times that most people wouldn't be playing the game. So that's just my personal thought. So the way that the size of your fleet or how many ships you have in your fleet for scanning SDUs, the way it breaks down is the smallest unit, this extra small ship. That one of those ships has the ability to scan for one SDUs, and then it increases by one for each size up that you go. So an extra small ship, you would be able to scan for two SDUs. If you have a small ship, that's three SDUs, and you can have a fleet cannot find more than 10 STUs per scan. So in order to maximize your SDU search fleet, you're going to have smaller fleets for that, and so that your total possible SDUs scanned is going to be 10. There's no reason to go over that. And so each size of ship or the fleets that you're going to put together is going to be kind of a piece together the best combination of sizes of ship. This is where a Fimbul air bike comes in handy because we can actually look on some of the graphs that are provided, I believe, on Nancy, as well as some other graphs that I've seen on the different discords, showing that the Fimbul air bike for the dollar value as of when I was recording this is actually the best value per SDU. One SDU and one bike, and they're going for like $4.60, something like that right now, for a Fimbul air bike. But that's how you plan out and do the strategy for finding these SDUs. Now, when it comes to the mining, and I'll just bring this up really quick because I saw this and it reminded me, your SDU fleets are probably going to be small, 10 ships at most, if they're extra small ships. Less if you have larger ships. For the mining, the amount of cargo that you have is probably going to be the biggest factor. Victor actually made a really good point about this on Metaverse Nomads episode, the last episode that I watched on the Sunday. And he pointed out that cargo is probably the most important in regards to the mining. You get there, the way the numbers work out, you're probably not going to run out of fuel, ammo, and food before you run out of cargo space, because majority of the ships out there are fighter ships and don't have as big cargo space. And so the way you build out these mining fleets and trying to get the most cargo, a fleet can only contain up to 145 points worth of ships. And then this is a graph or a spreadsheet that shows how many points each size ship um, takes up. And so if you've got a capital ship, that's going to be 36 points. So you have quite a bit of room to build around that capital ship and add other ships to your fleet. Larges are 25, medium 16, 9, 4, and 1 going down. If you have a commander, that's 49. If you have a Titan, and no one does, that's 81, just for your information. So that's another great resource to use. So this is actually a video is going a lot longer than I originally anticipated. You can see there's a lot of different pieces that you can use together to be able to play the game more efficiently. You can go in and just kind of go around and figure it out and have a good time with it. But these resources are going to really help. The last resource I'm going to talk about real quick is the on the Star Atlas Discord, the content creator page or tab. Um, this is where I post all my videos here. There's a bunch of different content creators that have posted good tutorials and theory crafting for planning out what they're going to be doing as soon as Sage launches. They have maps and better visuals, excuse me, better visuals or improved visuals, enhanced visuals. I like that. Enhanced visuals for the tools that have been provided by the team. And you can go through here and get some really good resources. There's new stuff happening every day, so definitely look through that for more content that is helpful and get you jump started and answer any other questions that this video might not have answered. I hope that at least directs you in the right path to find your way to your answers. So the main takeaways are: first, find your community. I'd recommend joining Ooster. Coming into the Nexus will help you get started and love playing and strategizing with you. But whatever faction you join, find your community. For Oni, my personal favorite is Rome as a guild. And for Mud, I'd recommend joining Bulk. I think that's a great group. But there are several great guilds out there. So find your community. And those people are going to help you answer a lot of the questions as you get going and strategize and figure out how you actually want to play the game. Then you can build your fleets using community tools like Nancy, okay, and really get a good idea of what the capabilities of your fleets are. Then you can take a look at the resource maps and the other content created to help plan out your routes and maximize your efficiency while playing Sage Labs. You get to that point and you'll be ready to go come Thursday the 21st. I have no idea what time of day it's going to be launched, and I doubt they're going to tell you until it happens. So keep your notifications on, and make sure that you're watching out for the start of Sage Labs, and think about the times of day that you're going to be playing and how that's going to work with your strategy. If you go about it that way, that's how I'm going to be doing it. I think that's going to be a real successful game strategy to start into Sage Labs. And once the mic drops on that, once the dice hit the floor, anything's possible. We'll be playing and breaking and trying to figure out the best ways to do things, and also finding out the worst ways to do things, and working together to really make this a fun, enjoyable experiment, and really start the first player-driven economy that we've been able to have. I'm really excited for that part, and interested to see how that goes and what happens. So it's a brave new world, and I'm really excited about it. Don't worry about liking or subscribing, but if you found it helpful, please go ahead and share it with somebody else that might need it. Find those resources to get caught up and or get started for the first time. And if you can do that, then today was a good day. Good morning.